there's construction going on outside my house and my house keeps shaking. I'm pretty sure it's gonna fall over. Great. Hey, World History, happy Thursday. I hope everyone's doing well. Really good job on the first part of the document analysis that you all had assigned on Tuesday. So now for tomorrow, I've assigned you the second part of that. So this video is to give you all a little bit more guidance on documents C and D because they are a little bit longer than documents A and B, but it's nothing y'all can't handle. You guys hear that? So here we are in part 2 of the Dark Ages document analysis. You have, as before, some guiding questions to answer that are based on 2 different documents, documents C and D. So the documents are linked on the guiding questions Google Doc. They are also on the assignment here. So there's 2 places to access them. So here are documents C and D. Document C is a record from the Abbey of Xanten, which is a city in modern-day Germany. And if you didn't know what an abbey was before you did your vocab assignment, it is a place where monks and nuns live. So people who are part of the Catholic Church who devote their lives to study of religious texts. And they essentially all live together in this closed off kind of castle place. You're gonna have to tell me 1, when was the document written and who wrote it? 2, what kind of document it is and what the purpose was for writing it. 3, which textbook, A or B, does the document more clearly match with? So you're gonna have to go back to your assignment from Tuesday. And number 4, do you think the document is trustworthy? Why or why not? So let's take a look at these first 2 questions. The type of document that it is, when it was written, who it was written by, and why it was written. So the following document is from the yearly records of the Abbey of Xanten, a city in modern-day Germany. An abbey is a place where Catholic monks and nuns live. The document describes Europe's troubles in the mid-9th century. It focuses on invasions by heathens or non-Christian barbarian tribes. Specifically, it mentions the Vikings or Northmen and the Saracens, Arab tribes. Most of the names mentioned are cities or areas in Germany. Gaul is basically modern-day France, and Christendom is the Christian part of Europe. So here is a map of Gaul. So it looks like this document gives us a list of events that occurred between 845 and 853. So we have twice in Worms, there was an earthquake. Not Worms like the thing that crawls on the ground. Worms is here. In the same year, the heathen broke in upon the Christians at many points, but more than 12,000 of them died. Another party of invaders devastated Gaul, and more than 600 of them died. 846. According to their custom, the Northmen, remember the Vikings, plundered eastern and western Frisia and burned down the town of Dordrecht with other 2 villages before the eyes of Lothair, the emperor. He was in the castle of Nimwegen, Viking names, but could not punish the crime. The Northmen returned to their own country with many men and goods. At the same time, the Saracens, remember an Arab tribe, killed all the Christians whom they found outside the walls of Rome. They also carried men and women away prisoners. Their crimes from day to day bring sorrow to Christians. 849. The heathen from the north caused trouble in Christendom as usual and grew greater in strength, but it is revolting to say more of this matter. Basically, what the author is saying here is, it was so bad I really don't want to talk about it. Finally, 853, a great famine in Saxony that so many were forced to live on horse meat. So the sourcing material says it is a modified excerpt from the Annals of Xanten, probably written by the abbey's monks in the middle of the 9th century. So let's go to our questions. When was this document written? It tells you in the sourcing material. And who wrote it? Look at the sourcing material. What kind of document is this? So think about whether it is a primary or a secondary source and where it came from. If you guys look at the italicized part of document C at the top, it tells you a little bit more about what this source came from. And what do you think the purpose was for writing it? Why do you think somebody wrote down these events? For number 3, which textbook, A or B, that you looked at yesterday or the day before, does this document more clearly match with? So if you look at these excerpts from these textbooks that you read yesterday or the day before, you would notice that document A suggests that the Middle Ages were indeed a dark time, and document B suggests that maybe they were okay, because document A suggests that things were very violent, that there were a lot of robbers, that education was declining, whereas document B says that there were technological improvements and the population in Europe was growing. So number 4 is your opinion, but it must be an informed opinion. So tell me whether or not you trust this document based on the information that you know about it, when it was written, who it was written by, what the purpose of the document is. So don't just tell me you trust it, yes or no. Back up your answer with evidence. The next document you're going to look at is called The Journey to Chartres. I'm pretty sure that's how that's pronounced. So in our sourcing material at the top, it says, the passage below is an excerpt from A History of France, written by a monk named Richer in the late 900s. In this passage, Richer describes how he went to the town of Chartres in what is today France to study. The passage illustrates medieval education, which was provided primarily at monasteries, which is like an abbey, or church schools, and was not available to most people. So let's read it. While engaged in the study of the liberal arts, I wanted very much to learn logic through the works of Hippocrates, an ancient philosopher. One day, a horseman from Chartres came to Reims and we began to talk. He told me that Herebrand, a clerk of Chartres, had sent him there to bring a message to a monk named Richer. I told the messenger that I was Richer. He gave me the letter, which I opened with some excitement. This was it, an invitation from Herebrand to come to Chartres and study with him. Yay, he got accepted to college. Kinda. Then I diligently began the study of the aphorisms with Hippocrates with Herebrand, a highly cultured and scholarly man. I learned the ordinary symptoms of diseases, and I picked up a surface knowledge of ailments. This was not enough to satisfy my desires. I begged him to continue to guide my studies on a deeper level, for he was an expert in his art in pharmaceutics, botany, and surgery. So this source was written by Richer of Reims in a book called The History of France. We don't have an exact date for when it was written. It says in the late 900s, and this was edited in 1964. Meaning somebody went through it and tried to make it more easy to read. So for document D, you're going to do a lot of the same things that you did for documents A, B, and C. Tell me when the document was written. You have that in your italicized sourcing material at the top of the document. What you think the purpose of the document was. Why did Richer write down about his experience with going to Chartres to study? Why did he want people to know about that? How did this monk get his education, and what did he study? So look back through that second paragraph in that source and it'll tell you. And then does this document suggest the Middle Ages were a dark age? So tell me what you think. Does it suggest that the Middle Ages were okay or not so okay? Now here's the part that I expect most of the questions on, this compiling the evidence chart. So based on all 4 documents that you have read so far, so you're including documents A and B in this, you are going to find 2 pieces of evidence that suggest the Middle Ages were a dark age, and 2 pieces of evidence that suggest they were not. Document A probably suggests that the Middle Ages were a dark age. Document B suggests they were not. So I'll give you guys a hint here. So find me direct quotes from documents A and B that would suggest that the Middle Ages were a dark age and were not a dark age. It is up to you to determine where C and D go. Does C suggest that the Middle Ages were dark or not? Same with document D. As always, if you need any help with this, please reach out to me and let me know through email, Remind app, or on Google Classroom. I'm available all day today until 4 o'clock to schedule individual Zoom meetings. I'll also be free all day tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for individual Zoom meetings if anyone needs it.